Hey everybody, it's Christian here with the first installment of the series around my gender and legal documents, name change things, UK and US. Before I start into this video, I just want to give a shout out to my partner's parents who gave me this awesome sweatshirt with Sasquatch on it, and I love it so much. Thank you, it's really cozy. Yeah. Um, so today, for my first installment, I was thinking that it would be more of a video around kind of what I know so far about the process of changing my name and my gender in the UK and the US, and also kind of talking about where I am at right now with that process. So to start off, talking about the UK. So this is what I know so far about the UK. So in order to change your name in the UK, it's a fairly easy process. You just need to create what's called a title deed document, and that is a document where you clarify, you state like, hey, my name is da-da-da, and I'm changing it to blah, 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 forever and forever. There's some really random legal archaic kind of language in there, but you can state, yes, it basically states what your name currently is legally in the UK and then what you are changing your name to in the UK, and in that you can also designate your suffixes, like the Mr., Sir, that kind of thing. I don't remember what those are called. So you do this title deed document, and then you have to get two people that you know to sign it. And there's some, I'm forgetting it now, but there's some year requirements for that. So you have to have known they can't be directly related to you or any kind of extended family. And they need to have known you for X number of years. I believe it is I want to say 10 years, but I don't know if that's true. I will clarify in the link below the numbers of years that's there. But yes, so they need to have known you for X number of years. And so they actually have to witness this document with you present. And so you need two people that are like that. Luckily, I have a very good friend still in the UK who has known me before and now and is willing to do that for me, as well as some close family friends as well, who I'm hoping will help me out with that. Yes, so the people that you need to sign, sorry, I should preface, so the people that have to sign this document also have to be British citizens. And I do not know if they also have to reside in the UK, because currently I do not reside in the UK, but technically my permanent residence is in the UK because of legal statuses in countries. But the person that signs the document needs to be from the UK as well. And once they have signed this document, and once you have clarified this document, you then can submit it to your bank and different doctor's office and places like that, and to change your name in those areas. Also, when you for a driving license as well, and different things like that. There's a really cool website from the UK that I found that talked a bit about that. I will add their link in the description below here. I want to say that it's transdocuments.co.uk. Don't trust me. Don't go to that website. I don't know if that's true. But that was a really cool resource that I found there. So that's for the name change piece in the UK. And you don't have to declare it through the court. You can announce it in the London Gazelle. I think that's a pretty old school way, but technically it's still official even if you don't do that. You just have to take it to your bank and your driver's license. You just have to take it to all the establishments that you need to go to change your name there specifically. I don't know about changing my birth certificate. I haven't looked at that yet. That is not something that I am personally interested in. For me and my transition, I want to honor who I was before, although I'm the same person, but the first edition, if you will, of CJ, or a first edition of Christian, I want to honor that person, and so I'm actually not looking to change my birth certificate in the UK at this time. With regards to changing your gender in the UK, some of the pieces that I know are around, you can do that on your passport, which is what I want to do. And so to change it on your passport, all you really need to do is submit a new passport application. And this would also, if you're also looking to change your name as well in your passport, you would also submit, so you would submit the new passport documentation with your gender that you want it listed on it. So for me, I would put male, because that's what I want my passport to say. And then because I'm also changing my name to Christian in that, I would also put my title deed document in with my passport application. Also, because it is a change of gender in the UK, you have to get a letter from a doctor that states that it is it is a permanent change in your gender. They're very specific about the language that you should use for that. I found some templates online, but yes, it is talking about a permanent change in the gender, and then the doctor kind of explains how they've worked with you and also lists their information there. So my understanding of that is that you fill all of that out, and then you submit it off to the government to change your passport, and then it's done. In theory, hopefully. In making this video, I'm now realizing that I don't know how that relates to changing your driving license in the UK, which is something I would want to do because I did get my driving license there when I was younger before I moved to the US. So I would want to change that as well. I would hope that I could just go with the title deed document and my passport and take it there and figure that out. But that piece I'm not exactly sure on. So that's kind of how you change documents in the UK. In the US, it's a little more complicated. It's really dependent on the state that you live in and their rules around there. Because for people that are born in the US and have a US birth certificate, it's very dependent on the state that you live in as to like what you need to do to change that. But in the US, there are like 2 different pieces to it as well. So you have your driving license or like ID identification, you have your passport, but you also have a social security number, which is like the number that follows you through work and everything like that. And that's to change your social security is a different process than to change your driving license and passport. I'm not fully clear on that process. And that's not really what I'm going to be talking about in these videos because I don't have a passport from the US, so that process doesn't apply to me. I will say, though, that some states can be really strict. For instance, if you live in Texas, as of like right now, I'm sure there's other states as well, but in order to change your birth certificate, change the gender on your birth certificate, you have to actually have a hysterectomy or surgeries to remove reproductive organs, which is really messed up, in my opinion. Yeah, make us infertile, and then we'll make you the gender you want. Anyway, that's like a rant video, not for here. And so, yes, birth certificate, license, I feel like I'm forgetting one. Oh, oftentimes in the US, in order to change your name, you have to submit a file to the court and actually appear in court with a judge to change your name, and also post it in like a local newspaper, sometimes the newspaper of the town that you were born in, I believe, which is like outing folks in order to get our name changed, which is really messed up. Once again, that's a little different process for me, so I don't know if that will apply. In my case, because everything is coming through the UK, I'm hoping that once I change everything in the UK, once I submit my new documentation for a new visa in the US, I maybe need to submit like a change of name form within that, but I'm hoping that they will just respect that and follow the new information on. That's what I'm hoping. That's what makes sense in my mind. I haven't checked in yet with an attorney to make sure that that is correct, because you do want to make sure with some of these that you are seeing a lawyer or somebody understanding of the immigration process to make sure you get it right, because a lot to stake here if I get it wrong. And so that's kind of what I'm hoping at the moment, but kind of where I'm at right now. So I had a name of some attorneys from my employer, actually, the person who's been helping me with my documents through my employer, has actually connected me with a couple of immigration lawyers in the state that I live in. So in Oregon, I live in Oregon currently. I did reach out to one of them and had a consultation about my options earlier on last year. However, when I mentioned being transgender and wanting to change my gender, the lawyer didn't know anything about that process in the US. So at that moment, I was like, okay, thank you very much, goodbye. That's not helpful to me. So fast forward, so what I've done, I think back in November of last year, I reached out to some different organizations, one of which is Immigration Equality, which I will put their link down below. But I reached out to them and said, hey, they're a LGBT immigration nonprofit, and so I reached out to them and asked them if they knew of any lawyers and attorneys in the Oregon area that were trans-friendly, LGBT-friendly. They then gave me a list of those, so that's really awesome. I think I have about 4 to choose from, and then from there I contacted them. So we're now in the beginning of early February 2018 right now. Last week I reached out to one of the law firms and kind of talked to them about my process. They'd worked with trans clients before, so I was like, yay, and they know immigration, yay. But I actually heard yesterday from them that unfortunately they do not want to take, or they cannot take me on right now because their law firm is more specific to family migration, so reuniting families with like U.S. citizens, reuniting their families. That is kind of their immigration that they are most versed in, and the immigration that I want is specific to me working currently in the U.S. and then going back to a student visa, which is more what they classified as business rather than family immigration. I do have some family in the U.S., so I have a sibling who is a U.S. citizen, and my parents are currently permanent residents in the U.S. But siblings to sponsor other siblings to get to the U.S. is about, like, I think upwards of a 10-year waiting process, no joke, from when you file. And so right now that's not something I'm interested in. I want to kind of get presence in the U.S. sooner than that, preferably. Or at least be able to live in the U.S. sooner than that, preferably. To get it through permanent residence, I also heard it's about a 7-year process. That is something that my parents and I are contemplating right now, but we're just kind of waiting until I find out more information about the gender things and how that could impact the process. So you might be asking, like, well, if you're already working in the US, why do you need to, like, change your status, or why now? That's super valid. So to have an H-1B visa in the US is a temporary work visa, which is only valid for me for up to 6 years, and then at which time I have to leave the US for a period of in total of 1 year before I can return to the US for a job. I've currently had my H-1B visa for 3 years now. And so I could extend that on, but I'm currently at a place where I currently work, I want to move to somewhere else. And if I change employers in the US, I have to refile my H-1B work visa. And I'm also coming up to, like I said in my earlier video, I really want to do a PhD in sociology, which is where I applied to for grad school. And so I kind of took the decision to change my status, hopefully back to that of a student, while I do my PhD, and to keep the 3 years that I still have on my work visa valid for when I graduate my PhD if I need some flexible time in order to get a job. Yes, so that's kind of that process. And H-1B, it currently takes around at least 5 months, maybe longer, to process an H-1B visa, which is something to consider. Which brings me on to my next point of processing time. So the reason why I'm deciding to do my gender and my name right now is because I'm changing my status, and I've been recommended to go back to the UK in order to change my status back to a student visa. And that is because the processing time when you stay in the US currently to change visa statuses is upwards of 5 months, which is not a time frame that I can afford right now because I'm looking at ending my work at the end of June of 2018 and then starting in the fall, so August or September of 2018 in classes. So going back to the UK to change my student visa is the best option. And so because of that, this is why I am now, because I was going to be going back to the UK anyways, I was like, maybe this is a good time in my life to take the time to change my gender and my name while I have that flexibility. And then, because it's becoming more and more dysphoric for me when every time I call the doctor, they use my birth name and different pieces like that because it's tied to my health insurance as well as the HR here. And also whenever I travel, it makes me kind of anxious to not have the gender that I identify as and present as reflected on my documents, particularly as a person that does not have a long-term status in the US. That is something that increasingly is making me nervous, even though I know I present as a white male, and so I do get a lot of luxury in that area of not being targeted by TSA in that regard. I just don't want to kind of push it, and so I'd like to change it from there. So back to what I was saying, where the lawyer that I first contacted couldn't work with me because of they were family immigration. They did, however, give me the name of another attorney who works with more business immigration, which is what I'm looking at, who was also on the original list that I got from Immigration Equality, who sent me that list free of charge. Thank you, Immigration Equality, so much. You really helped me kind of start on my path figuring this out. So I have a new attorney to contact who I will hopefully contact next week. And then I will hopefully get a consultation with them and have some updates for you about what the process is going to be like and if what I think is actually true or not. That's about all the updates I have for you now. I really appreciate you all watching this. I will make sure to kind of put updates in the links below and also write that blog post that I mentioned before. But I hope you all are having a good day and take care, and thanks for being on this journey with me. Bye.